Hey guys, what's up? Well, I hope your coronavirus situation is going well. uh, I've been struggling for things to do, and one of the things I've been working on is this. This is my 2009 CAD 9, Cannondale's last made in the USA mass-produced bike, and this is a size 58, and I've decided I like size 56 better, and all my bikes since then have been 56, but I've never gotten rid of this because this is actually a bike I bought new, and the frame is warranted, and so if it ever broke, I could get another frame. And I always thought, well, I don't want to get rid of that. Plus, I really like the bike, even though I hardly ever ride it. And last year, a couple years ago actually, I made this into an aero bike. And what makes this an aero bike? It's these, really. The only thing that makes this an aero bike is this, the Profile Airstrike Aerobars, clip-on Aerobars. These things were so popular back in the 90s, and it seemed like almost everybody was strapping these things on their bikes for more speed back then. Thing is, they are actually a pretty cool invention. I mean, they have a lot of benefits, especially if you're a solo rider, if you like to ride longer distance. You can get into drops, take weight off your arms, take weight off your hands, and you can get in a much more fast position if you're trying to go for speed. So lots of advantages to put to those aero bars. But these profile design bars have kind of a problem. They're kind of cool in a way since they pop up. The bars will let you still have access to your tops, for climbing, so that's kind of cool. But this one is all wobbly and worn out and loose, and it rattles really bad. And even when they're not wobbly and worn out and loose, they still tend to rattle and shake and make noises. Plus, they just kind of look pretty dorky. And if I have this bike and it's going to be my aero bike, I really don't need a convertible system like that. And what else makes this bike an aero bike? Well, there's really only one other part, and that's this tricked out aero seat post, which is just a few millimeters thinner in a little location. It's actually a really heavy older steel seat post, but it actually is pretty nice. So what I'm going to do today is install these. These are the cheapest aero bars I could find on YouTube. And my goal is to eventually, there's not much to these. These may not end up being worth their time messing with, but we'll try them out. $20 for a set of aero bars, the cheapest aero bars available. The aero bars are fairly simple, but they're very expensive if you start looking at some of the racier type options. So, we'll see how these compare to the Airstrike, and we'll change them. My eventual goal is to make this into an actual time trial bike. I don't really want to buy another frame for something I may only ride a little bit. I don't think the frame really has that much to do with it. If I can get this seat post is cool because it's aero, but I really need one that has either no setback or forward seat back, because for the time trial bars, I want to get that seat more forward. I've got a really short stem on there, so that's pretty decent. I got like an 80 stem on there or something, so that works out pretty cool. And really, that's the only thing I think a person really needs to get an aero bike going is just a short position where you can get on the top. And if it was truly a time trial bike, this back wheel would be more about here, about a centimeter, maybe an inch closer to the front of the bike. For a little bit more, to get the weight more underneath the wheels, since you set more forward on the aero bars, but whatever. So, alright, let's try it out. The history behind these aero bars is actually kind of interesting. So I loaned these to my friend Luke Reagan back in 2012 or 13. He did Tour Divide, which is a 3,000 mile 3,000 plus mile mountain bike race from Banff, Canada to Mexico. And he thought these would be really helpful because a lot of stretches of it were on just like flat gravels, or just to help with his hands and stuff, hand positioning. And so these actually finished Tour Divide with him. He was he did it in 19 days, I think, or it's 14 or 19. I know it's a big difference. I can't remember, but either way, maybe he was 14th place and he did it in 19 days, or 19th place in 14 days, whatever it was. It was insane. He was riding 150 plus miles a day. And he's the one who wrapped this cool blue handlebar tape on there. That wasn't me. He said that really helped. So anyway, but there is a slight problem, and the biggest reason why I'm taking these off is this one pad, this one's all loose. When it comes down, it's broke, and it goes all the way to the bar, and it just keeps going. This stops the arm from going down. See, this one will go here, but that one just keeps going. And that gets really annoying after you spend a few minutes on them. So, time for them to go and be replaced. Well, let's see what you get for $20. So you get your extensions, which have a really small, look at the difference between that pad and then the pad that comes with a, I think these are like F19 or something, I can't remember. I bought these because when Luke did bring these back, the pads were completely just distant, they were gone. He just wore them away. And so I went ahead and got new pads for him. Besides the two extensions, you get these little foam pads which Velcro on, and you get some shims to make it fit 26.2. So I got 26.2, so I'll need the shims. And let's get this installed and see if, you know, like how they work. I mean, you know, they look decent enough. I mean, there's not a lot to them. They've got measurements. They say 8 to 10 Newton meters on there. You know, they look fairly straightforward, and a lot of the negative reviews talked about really poor quality and how they would break when you tried to over tighten them, or where they wouldn't stay tight. So there's all sorts of things going on here that could make them suck, but we'll try them out and see how they work. Well guys, I'm sure you know the saying, you get what you pay for, and I mean, these are some cheap junk. This metal is so cheap, and the threads are so bad. When you start, actually every time I start to thread the bolts in, it feels like you're stripping them. And you really are. I mean, you can't really thread. It's machined so poorly, and the metal's so cheap that the bolts pretty much just create their own threads whenever you screw them in for the first time. There's little metal shavings everywhere. It's been a humongous pain in the butt trying to get. I got one side installed, and then it just occurred to me suddenly to go ahead and take the extension. It just slides out, which should make this clamp a lot easier. But I don't know about them because when I tightened them up, I had to get that side really tight, like so that I couldn't just move it by hand. And I don't really think these are actually going to tighten up and stay. I think it'd be one of them things too where you're constantly tightening them up. We'll see. I'll go ahead and finish installing them if I can, and we'll see if they actually even will work. Well guys, one test ride in, they feel about as good as they look, which is just trash. These pads are tiny. They're not really on there. They're just on there with one bolt, and there is a place for 2 bolts, so I might be able to, even though I bet they're not the same, but I'd really like to be able to use these pads. They're so much bigger and more supportive. Maybe I can use them, but I don't know. They're too low. There's no rise to them at all, so your elbows are lower than your arms, but I don't really know. I'll have to work on this because I don't know how to set these up, so it's going to take a while. It's going to take some trial and some experimentation, but you know, right now I'm thinking I'm almost ready just to put them back in the bag and send them back to Amazon. The one bolt, I'm sure I stripped it out, but I could not get it to go, and finally I just started muscling it in and it drove in, but I'm sure I stripped out the threads, but it seems to be in there. I don't know. Tell you what though, you do get what you pay for, and Amazon is really good at selling junk. Chinese $20 Aerobars. Again, I'm the one who bought them, so we'll find out, test a little bit, and I'll get back to you. See ya.